What's up, Tube? Welcome to Guido's Chop Shop, second best Gel Blaster channel on the YouTubes. And if you saw earlier on, I unboxed this Silver Edge gearbox from Chainsaw Products live last week. I was a little bit bummed at the time because I didn't get the mag contacts, albeit that was probably my fault because I read the instructions of the ordering wrong and did not realize that you had to order the magazine priming tabs separately. Big props to Chainsaw because they hooked me up with the mag plate and the contacts, even though it was my mistake for probably ordering it wrong in the first place. But Chainsaw's hooked me up, so big shout out to them. Now I'm going to be setting this thing up. I'm going to be swapping the wiring out of this box into this box because this one's wired up for the Warfet that I'm going to be using in this box. Alright. So I'm going to attach the mag terminal first. I've put the mag terminals into the terminal block, and it is a very tight fit. We're going to focus. It's a very, very tight fit in there. So I had to actually fold down the little tabs. There's these little tabs here that poke up, which is designed to I guess stop it from sliding out once it's in, but it's so tight that I've had to flatten them flush to get it to slide into the terminal block. Now it is very tight, and it's also very close to the other terminal, so you gotta make sure that they don't short each other out, which would be no good. Nobody wants that. And yeah, just make sure that they're in there nice and tight. Now the holes seem to correspond with this little pin and this hole here, like that. And I assume the screw that was on the other side here of the device, I don't even know what that part is for. I imagine it's some sort of bolt release or something off an airsoft that we don't necessarily need. The screw that held that on is here, so I imagine that's going to go here to hold this on as I bump the camera. Alright, so that screws in there, seems to hold that mag terminal block on nicely, seems to line up correctly with where the standard one would go. So that seems alright so far. Now these terminals, once installed on the terminal block, focus, they have these tabs which stick out, and my first reaction is to want to bend those up, but being that this is a metal gearbox, bending them up would potentially short them on the metal here, so I'm probably just going to cut them off and file them down flush and then just solder onto the little tabs here rather than having these sticking out. So I've just cut these off flush with some tin snips here. That way I can solder these on and there won't be any chance of shorting them out on the casing. The next thing that I've sort of noticed here is that with the mag terminals on, this is not going to be a straight fit into the receiver here, because the side where it bolts on has this little piece here. Interestingly enough, the other side doesn't have that piece. It's just this side. So if you look at that there, this bit seems to stick in a bit more than on this side. So I might have to file this piece out just a little bit to make it so that it slides in easily without fouling on that mag block. Incidentally, if that mag block wasn't there, it does slide straight in. But I think just a few millimeters off this with a file and she should be all good. Alright, so just a tiny little bit filed off here, and now this should fit in perfectly like that. Nice. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, we've still got to sort out all the wiring on this for the mag and the trigger wiring that I'm going to be wiring up for the MOSFET. So I'm just going to take this wiring out of here. The one thing I'm going to have to change is, even though this blue wire is here for the front mag terminal, in the wells the rear mag terminal directly connects to the trigger contact, which this one obviously doesn't. So I'll just have to run an additional wire for that. Fortunately, in the kit they provide you with like enough wire to wire many mag terminals. So I'll just use a bit of that. Just pop this old gearbox apart. Now incidentally, if you have upgraded the Wells gearbox, the standard one like this one, and you've put an upgraded plunger in there, and you find that the plunger is like a millimeter narrower than the standard Wells plunger, and it has a tendency to want to slide off the rails, particularly once you put a bigger spring into it. The solution that I came up with for that in this particular blaster, when I was running the stock gearbox with the upgraded spring, I actually got a piece of the stock plunger and I filed it down a little bit and I glued it to the top of the new plunger. So it's just about a millimeter, and I oiled that up and greased that up so that it slides nicely inside the gearbox, and that also kept it in the rails, kept it from popping up when you use a big spring. But that's really neither here nor there now. I'll just get all this stuff out of the way so I can get to the wiring. Alright, and now, oh, good old blue wire just came off. I don't need to desolder that at all anymore. And I've decided that I'm going to reuse these wires as opposed to using the wiring loom that came with the new gearbox, just because I've already made these wires to length and they're wired for the Warfet already, so they're good quality wires. There's I don't see any benefit to using these over these. I actually prefer the silicone ones anyway. 6 on, half a dozen the other. I don't see the reason to do things twice if I've already made this loom. Alright. Pop those out and get ready to put it into the other box.
Alright, wires in the new box. Side note while I'm here, this is a plunger. If anyone's ever seen these before. 1.6 mils thick. I just noticed this one is thick. I just want to get a measurement on how thick it actually is. So that's a good 2.4 mils thick. That's a decently thick plunger. If you look at these, which are the ones that pretty much everyone runs on it, everything else, they're actually quite thin, and I have had a few break. Yeah, this one doesn't look like it's going to break anytime in a hurry. Alright, I'm just going to smash this gearbox back together. Everything's in its place. I've soldered the wiring loom into the switch here. It's ready for the MOSFET. I've left these a little bit long. I'll probably trim them and make them fit correctly. I'm not going to do it on camera. I'm just going to smash the screws back into this and probably just adjust the length of these so they're not so long. Obviously I've got to get a trigger in there as well. I'm just going to put this together and then we'll flash to when I've got it together, and then we'll look at actually getting it into the blaster, because that's what you came for. You don't want to watch me put screws in. Alright. Okay, so it's all back together. And now we're just going to pop it into the Wells receiver. If you fast forwarded the video and missed the bit where I filed out a little bit in here, I did actually file out a little bit in there to make this a bit easier to fit. So this should fit quite well in theory. Oh, look at that. Fits a little too well. That goes in really easily. Alright, so there it is. I'm obviously going to have to put the pin in here. Just got to fiddle with this wiring a bit, make sure that's right. But yeah, that goes in very easily. Alright. Alright, so the pin here pops through. Should slide through there in theory. Alright, got that pin in there. Looking good. Alright. Now we're gonna have to grip on and the motor. Now I think the spacing, yes, the spacing of the holes for the grip looks like it's the same as the wells, which is probably, I'm going to say, different to a Gen 9. It's very similar. Could be the same as a Gen 9 even. I'll have to check that out later to see if they are. But looks like we'll get the pistol grip on there and get this thing put back together. So the standard screws that come with the wells, obviously for screwing into a plastic gearbox, so they got a very coarse thread, whereas the alloy gearbox has got a fine thread. I want to say it's an M3 or an M4 thread. Don't have a measurement on me at this time, but it looks like yeah, one of those small machine metric threads. So you are going to need to get 2 of these metric threaded screws. They are the same as the Gen 9 pistol grip screws. So that's another thing that Jingming got right, I suppose. You can don't do this, but you can actually jam these in and force them in, and they will actually screw in there, and they will probably hold. But don't do that. Go and get yourself some proper metric threaded screws and use them. I'm pretty sure they're metric, which is strange for something that's so prominent in the Americas, but that's what it seems to be. And of course we've got the beast of a motor, the Chi-Hi. I don't know what you call that, blue and red. It's the 3900 RPM at 8 volt motor that's going in. And then put the motor retaining plate back in. We're almost there. This is a bit of a pain because you sort of got to hold it down with your thumb while you're putting the screws in, because it is spring loaded. Now, speaking of that motor plate, fortunately for me, the dimensions of the gearbox seem to be identical. So the depth of this bevel gear is identical. So the motor height that I'd preset for this gear, or for this gearbox in the pistol grip, stayed the same, which is great, in my opinion, because being that this gearbox is not transparent, it's very difficult to see where the motor pinion gear sits, and getting that proper engagement is crucial, because those pinion gears strip off quite easily if you don't have them engaged 100% correctly. So I'll just plug the Warfet in and the battery, and we'll give it a test. Alright, so safety. semi. Ooh, nice. And I'm not going to do auto yet. I'm going to make you wait. I'm going to tweak the settings in this MOSFET a little bit, and then we'll come back.
Now, I legit didn't mean to be a jerk about this and leave you all hanging, but something happened and the selector plate here is now jammed. So I am going to have to leave it there, and that's all I got time for at the moment, but I will sort this out and I'll come back with another video, part 3 I guess it'll be, of getting this APS gearbox in. It's disappointing because I was just going to tune up the WARFET and get it going nice and sweet, and it seemed that, I don't know, something happened when I went to tune the WARFET. I came back and this selector was the plate's not sliding for some reason. I'm gonna have to pull it apart and check this out. I did notice the plate has a different shape here. I don't know if I don't know. It was actually working, like just before I cut the video. It was selecting. So something happened when I went to put the upper on. I don't know if putting the upper on might have shifted the gearbox in the receiver or something, and just, I don't know. I'll sort that out and I'll get back with another video later. I'm sorry for leaving you hanging on this one again, but these are the things that happen. I'll be back to you later though. Peace out, YouTube.